It's the DRAGER Evita XL. Yeah. It's not that bad. The problem is there's not a lot of places. You want to come up here and do this? Oh, you're the problem today. Okay, DRAGER Evita XL. So the way you turn this one off, turn on, excuse me, is in the back. There's a little flip switch right here, and you just flip the little piece of plastic up and push the button in, and then turn it on. And when you do that, your screen will come on in the front. This one is the least favorite because of the names of the modes. The Galileo is going to be the least favorite because of the time it takes to calibrate it. So that's the last one we'll have to do, and we'll do that next Wednesday. Because we'll actually have labs to start doing next week as well. So when you come here, some of the vents go right into ventilating, and some of them come up to the start screen. I think it depends on the software model. So if you're going to start ventilating your patient, you're just going to hit the word start, and this says new patient or previous patient. So if you did previous patient, that would keep it on the same settings you've been on. New patient to go to our new patient. Start, and then this button. So with the DRAGER, it's touch screen. When you touch it, it turns yellow, and then the button over here confirms it and does what you want it to do. And then it would start ventilating. We have to calibrate this one. So to calibrate it, you actually have to put it on standby, and it doesn't usually start in the right screen. So you want to turn it on, and now we're going to put it into standby so we can do the calibration. The standby on the DRAGER is a two-part. Oh, I didn't turn the tanks on. Will you turn the tanks on for me on your way out, please?
Yeah,
Thank
2
you.
seconds. I connected you to the
Okay.
temporary.
All right. Okay, thanks. O2 and air. Thank you. So you have to put it into standby. You could never be doing a calibration on a vent while it was on a patient. So they always want to be in standby. So to put this into standby, it's a two-part step. So hit the start standby button, and then hit the standby here, put it into yellow, confirm it. And then up here at the top it says standby activated. This is not standby. This is one of the biggest mistakes on this ventilator. This is not standby. You actually have to do another step to actually put it in standby. So up here it tells you in the blue, confirm standby, touch alarm reset and confirm. So if you want to actually put it in standby, now you push the alarm reset and confirm, and now it's in standby. It should be blue up at the top with nothing else up there. Students tend to just hit standby, confirm, and stop, and then keep going. That's not in standby. It wants to confirm that you really want to be in standby. So like the PB would put our stuff down at the bottom. If you hit the button and you see a little writing down at the bottom, the DRAGER puts its writing up here in the blue. So up here is where you'll always see your instructions that will tell you what to do. So when I put it into standby, it said, we'll just do it one more time and make sure everyone's got it. So we're going to start ventilation, hit the word start, and ventilate. Now I want to go into standby, hit the start standby button, hit standby, confirm, which is the round button, touch alarm reset, and confirm. Now we're actually in standby. Now once you're on this screen, you're going to see check, the word check. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 spots down right here, so push that. Once you push that, you'll see an overview which tells you when the checks were done last. And then you're going to see device check and airtight check. Those are the two different checks that have to be done on this ventilator. The device check is the overall calibration of it. The airtight check is the one that tests the circuit to make sure there's no leaks in it. So we're going to hit device check first, and then we're going to hit the word check. Check, 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 check. That's what this favorite is. So it's one check after another. So once you start this one, it's going to tell you up here in the blue what to do. So always look up here until you're used to it and follow the instructions. You'll see once I start going through it that there's a, is he flirting with you over there?
She extubated it.
There's a little countdown. It's going to say 59, 58, 57, 56 in seconds. That's not telling you you have to wait. That's telling you how long you have to do something. So don't really pay any attention to that. Hit the button, do what it says, and follow the directions. So we're going to do our check. and it's going to say check correct position of the exhalation valve. On this ventilator here, the exhalation valve is here, and you'll see this better when you're actually have your turn on the DRAGER, but underneath here is a flow sensor. I really should tell you this stuff before we get going any further. This little piece here is a flow sensor where it's going to sense all the flow. It calibrates it, and this is actually where the flow readouts are actually taken on the machine. So this has little filaments inside of there, and it has the word DRAGER, and it says Spirolog on it. When you're putting it in, you need to make sure that the words are right side up, not upside down, because that's how you know it's in the right way. When you push this in, there's a little flap here, and then there's a little spot where this can sit in. We're going to push it in and then slide it over. Because it's slid into place, when you take the exhalation valve, you actually have to take this and slide it back over before you take the exhalation valve out. If you don't do that, because it actually sits right in the exhalation valve, if you don't do that when you take the exhalation valve out, it's going to make this fly across the room and possibly break. So these do break, and it's called the flow sensor. So if it's not letting you calibrate it, call me over, and if we need to, we'll get a replacement. They're kept away. So there's a little blue tab in here that has to be pushed over. I don't know if you can get your cameras up in here, but there's a little blue tab you push over, and then you pull this piece out. This is the exhalation valve. I'm going to go over these more in depth next week, like I've told you, but this is a piece that you need to allow the ventilator to cycle in between exhalation and inhalation and back and forth. So it's just telling you when it says check correct position to make sure that it's in the spot it's supposed to be. Unless you took it out for some reason, it really won't have moved, but that is where you're supposed to be looking. And see, we waited too long. So we're going to start over, and we interrupted, and we'll start over. So check correct position of the exhalation valve. We did that, so you want to say yes. Connect test lung to Y piece. So we got to make sure our ventilator is hooked up. We could have started this way. So if this is the exhalation, this one's going here. It has an arrow pointing into the ventilator. This is inhalation. Going to our patient, it has an arrow pointing out. Remember, like I told you, to go to the patient. And we're going to connect our test lung and then hit yes. And now it's going to say check is active, please wait. That's when you don't have to do anything. Checked correct position of the flow sensor. Now this normally won't be out, it will be in, but I left it out so I can show you that. So it sits right in here like that, and then you slide it over and then close the door. So if you just want to make sure everything's in. But if it's ever telling you to check it, that's where you have to go. So we're going to check that and hit yes. I accidentally hit the wrong button, but the next test was neo flow sensor. This is not a neonatal, so you should actually hit next test and bypass that one. So there's two different ones that say neo while you're doing the calibration. Whenever you see the word neo, hit next test. Because when you're done, you want to see all checks and no Fs. So is HME filter ready for use? We're going to say yes, even though we don't have it hooked up right now. Are patient hoses correctly connected? Yes. Connect test lung to Y piece, confirm with yes. Now it says connect air supply, disconnect oxygen. So you're just going to come over here and unhook your O2 source. And when that tells you, you're going to hook the O2 in and disconnect the air. But right now it says check is active, please wait. Connect O2, disconnect air. We'll put this one back in. Then it should say check is active, please wait. It's also checking the safety valve. It told me to put my air back in, so I'm doing that. Checking that the alarm works, it does, so hit yes. And calibration okay, then it's doing the flow sensor. Neo flow sensor, remember we're going to hit next test. So it will just put a couple little dashes next to it instead of an F. And now it's going to do the O2 sensor calibration. This one takes a minute. Once this is done, you'll have check marks across all the screen, and you may or may not see the word O2 calibration OK come up. Sometimes you miss it. As long as you see all your check marks, including the one next to calibrate O2 sensor, you're passed. There are 2 ones past that for CO2 sensors, which we don't have hooked up because it's not on a person. So those will just have dashes. It knows that it's not hooked up, so it's not going to try to calibrate it. Calibration OK. So now that part's done. Now we're going to go to the airtight check. And now this is going to check for the patency and any leaks in our circuit. This one is a little weird because you can't really tell for sure when it's done unless you're paying attention, unless you know what you're looking for. So I'm going to tell you what that is. So you're going to hit the word check. Seal Y piece, confirm with it yes. Seal Y piece, remember, is always to seal it. This is not sealed. This is a patient. This is sealed. So seal Y piece, confirm with yes. Now you'll see maybe some numbers come up in here. It's going to say check is active, please wait. It's looking to see that these numbers don't go above 300. If they go above 300, that means that means the leak is too large. So it's going to do a whole bunch of stuff, and as long as you see it end up back at 0, you're good. You'll see if it's not at 0 because it'll run and read some really high numbers, and then that tells you you have a leak. So you really have to watch what this one is doing. And now it says keep Y piece open, confirm with yes. Check is active, please wait. Again, we're going to watch to make sure that we don't have any numbers up there. Now when I got 0 or less than 300 and nothing is left up here on the screen, you're done. Does that make sense? I'm going to do it and I'm going to make a leak so you guys can see what will happen if there's a problem, okay? So let's do it again. Seal Y piece, confirm with yes. So let's just do this. I'm going to open this port. I'm going to seal my Y piece and I'm going to hit yes. Now you'll see what will come up here on the screen is really big numbers. $2,358 is what it says right now. And sometimes they'll fluctuate, but there'll be numbers in the thousands. That's telling you that there's a problem and there's a leak somewhere in your circuit. Of course we know, it's right here. I made it on purpose. But this is what you'll see if it's not going to pass. And it's going to keep doing this and keep doing this probably forever because it wants to, and you're going to say, it's not working because it's not working right. Now if I did this, it'll go back down to where it's supposed to be. So once you fix the leak, then you can redo it. But as long as there's a leak somewhere, it won't ever get past this part. It's just going to say it's more than 300, and it'll keep reading, and it's trying to get it to go below 300, which it will never do. So keep Y piece open, confirm with yes. And now we're done because we got less than 300, nothing up on the screen. Okay, so there's a couple other buttons over here which we're not going to be using right now, so we're not going to worry about those. But then we would go back to our new patient and we would hit adult, and then it would actually let you hit start ventilation if you wanted to. This one defaults to adult, so you don't have to worry about changing that. If you wanted to from here, you could go ahead and set up everything and have it ready before you hooked it up to your patient, which you should have done anyways. But I'm going to go ahead and put our lung on and ventilate, and then we'll go through where everything is. So we're going to hit start, and then we'll go. So here's our waveforms as they are listed on the DRAGER right here. They show up right there for you. Down here at the bottom are some quick access keys like we had on the servo. You can go ahead and just change, just because this came up, CO2 monitoring off. That's because we're not using it. So here's some quick access keys. On the ventilators, the quick access keys are never like modes or anything like that. This is just letting you change some of the settings within that mode. So here we could change our FiO2 and then that would come up. So again, touch it, yellow, turn the dial, confirm. If you don't hit confirm, it doesn't take your change and it's going to go back to where you were. So if we did this and did this and then didn't hit confirm and then touched something else, it would go back to where it was, which was 87.
Can you touch it again and would the yellow go away and it confirm it or no?
No. You have to actually, well, I don't know, to tell you the truth. Let's see. Nope, you have to actually hit the confirm button. I thought you did. So here's where we can set everything when we talk about the different areas on the vent. Our waveforms are there. Here's our set parameters, so you can set whatever you need accordingly. Here's the ones you gotta really pay attention to and write down or watch the video, because the names of the different modes on this one are very different. Huh? The DRAGER. DRAGER. Well, I don't think there's an E, but whatever. Okay, so if you want your patient to be in SJVC, you need to use the CMV tab. SJVC mode is CMV, cat, Mary, vehicle. To make sure you're writing down the right letters, because some people were going. No, it's to know it's CMV. Okay, so CMV is SJVC. If you want to be in SIMV-VC, then you hit the SIMV tab. It says just SIMV.
So SIMV-VC is just SIMV.
Look at the door, please. SIMV-VC is the tab that says just SIMV. Then if you want to be in ACPC, ACPC is PCV, like pressure control ventilation, the plus sign, then the word assist. Huh? Pressure control ventilation. PCV plus
Because of
assist.
those copyright laws or patents that they
It's
have?
copyrights. The names
Yeah.
are copyrighted, that's why. Yeah. They have to change them, or trademarked, or whatever you want to call it. They're independent to the ventilator. Yeah. I know. That's why I said I didn't make these rules. But think about it, you guys. We're talking about ACPC. So it's PCV, pressure control ventilation, plus assist, the word assist control. So that's ACPC. And once you guys know more about this too, when you go to the modes, you're going to only be able to set certain things in those modes. And if you go to a mode and there's no volume setting, it's not a volume mode. So you'll learn how to recognize them more that way. I didn't show you where it is on here yet, because the other thing with the DRAGER that comes up sometimes is we have all these different tabs here. And if there's something that you're looking for that's not here, you have to hit the more key. Like I'm looking for more. And then down here, you will see all of the modes that are available. And here is PCV plus assist, but it wasn't up there. The fact that it's not up there doesn't mean it's not available. It means it's under the more tab. So now we can hit PCV plus assist, and now it's there. You would set everything and then confirm. Now, if you want SIMV PC, you just go to PCV plus without the word assist.
With SIMPC.
SIMV PC is PCV plus with nothing else, just PCV plus. Huh? So let me go through them one more time and then I'll tell you about PRVC. Okay, so ACVC is CMV. SIMV VC is the word SIMV. ACPC is PCV plus assist. And SIMV PC is PCV plus. Got that part? Okay, now let's talk about PRVC. Guys, we need to know about it. Okay, so if you want your patient to be in ACPRVC, you're going to go to CMV, and you're going to turn a setting called auto flow, and you're going to turn it on, and it happens to be on right now. So if you go to CMV and then you go to additional settings, and then you'll see the word auto flow, you want it to be on. If you're in CMV and auto flow is on, you are in ACPRVC. So CMV without auto flow would be ACVC, the very first one I told you. If you're in CMV with auto flow, it's ACPRVC. And you'll see the word auto flow right up here underneath the word CMV. So when I come over to your van and I tell you you're not in ACVC, even though you think you are, it's because you didn't turn the auto flow off. The reason I tell you that is because it defaults to being on a lot. So pay attention to your settings. If you want to be in ACVC, you actually have to go turn auto flow off if it's on. So it's just to show you again, additional settings. If I wanted to turn it off, I just hit the word auto flow, hit the word off, confirm, it goes away. Now it's ACVC. Depending on the software model we tend to have, you might also see the word assist here. If it says CMV assist, that's also ACVC. Don't worry about that. As long as you don't see the word auto flow, you're in ACVC. So we're in ACVC right now because it just says CMV. If I want to go to ACPRVC, go back to CMV, additional settings, auto flow, on, confirm. Now I'm in ACPRVC. It's not really complicated. You just have to learn what the stuff is called on this one. So now the last one is SIMV, PRVC. And for that one, we're going to go to the SIMV tab and do the same thing. We're going to turn auto flow on, and we'll make it SIMV, PRVC. We turn auto flow off, and it's just SIMV, VC. So right now, I'm in CMV. Okay, SIMV. So right now I'm in SIMV with auto flow. See how it was already on? So this is SIMV PRVC. So if I want to go to SIMV VC, I'm going to go to additional settings, go to auto flow, turn it off, hit that, and now it's just SIMV VC. It says the word pressure support because that's something you can set in it. We'll talk about that more later. So now I'm in SIMV VC because auto flow's off. If I want to go to SIMV PRVC, I just go back to my SIMV tab, additional settings, auto flow, on, confirm, and now I'm back in SIMV PRVC. So basically, auto flow on the DRAGER means PRVC. Don't worry about why they gave it some crazy name. Just know that it means PRVC, okay? And then depending on what mode you're in will depend on actually what settings you can set. Let's see if there's anything. Oh, the other thing that's unique to the DRAGER, it's because it's from Germany, your units are in actual liters, and so instead of your tidal volume being 450 cc's, it's 0.450 liters. That's very important when it comes to your alarm settings, because I'll see people put my alarm at like 1.20 because they think it's supposed to be 120, but that's really 1.2 liters, which would be huge. So it would have to be 0.12, exactly. You want the decimal point in front of it. Remember, mLs to liters and back and forth. It's 3 places. To go from mLs to liters, it's 3 places to the right. To go from liters to mLs, it's 3 places to the left. And we're going to stop it at that now. Okay. So let me see. Under additional settings, you will also find the apnea setup, the trigger, which is the sensitivity setting. Let's talk about this one called ATC. ATC is automatic tube compensation. It's really a setting we're going to talk about more when we go into weaning, but I tell you just so you know what it is. Automatic tube compensation is it has nothing to do with the circuit. It's a setting that compensates for the size of the ET tube or the trach that your patient has in. So you'll see this gives me a section where I can set ET tube size or trach size, and then how much do I want to compensate for it. So this helps overcome the resistance a patient has to do by breathing through a tube. So automatic tube compensation, it puts amount of pressure in there to automatically help my patient compensate for the ET tube that they have in. So that's what that is. And we'll talk about it more later on. Let's see. CPAP and pressure support is here also, and that's for the weaning one. That's the one that's all spontaneous. So that's your modes and all your settings and what you have down here. Let's see, that's your waveforms. Over here is where you can see your patient data. One of the things that's unique about the DRAGER, there's multiple ways to get to the information that you want to see. So if I want to see my patient's data, I can hit the word data. That's where my patient readout would be. This is where I like to be if I'm doing a vent check, because everything is all in one spot. You will see that it's also here, like the servo does, but like the servo, you have to go through multiple tabs to get through all the information that you want. Where on the DRAGER, it's all right here. So you can get the information from wherever you want, but I'm telling you, for your purposes, you use whatever works best for you. You can get it here, or you can get it here under the word data. Main will always take you back to the main screen, which is where the waveforms and the quick access buttons are. Special procedure will get you to inspiratory hold, expiratory hold, nebulizer if you wanted to run the nebulizer, O2 suction, so that would be if we're going to suction our patient and we want to give them 100% oxygen. I got there by going to special procedures, but there's also a quick access key for O2 suction right there because it's used all the time. So this is where you'd probably get it from, but you can also get it from here. So if I'm going to do, well, I'm going to turn my pressure, I'm going to turn my DRVC off, so hold on a second. Inspiratory hold and expiratory hold, those are the ones we did like on the servo. I want to be able to get my plateaus and my numbers. So I'm going to do inspiratory hold, and it tells you you need to touch and hold it. So now you're going to see the plateau there, and then the expiratory hold, and then I want you to hit the word freeze on the screen. And it's going to freeze your data. The reason you have to do this is because it doesn't always show under the data tab here. Let's see if it's telling right now. It doesn't always show me my plateau. Oh, it's not even listed. Oh, here we go. Here I went to table 1. You'll see right here, the plateau says nothing. It's not even there for me to get. So what I can do is I froze my screen as soon as I did it. So if you don't see it here, what you do is once your screen is frozen, take your dial, and you'll see this blue line move. Take your dial, and you're going to go all the way over to here where the flat spot is, because the flat spot is where we did the inspiratory hold. And so we're going to go all the way over to here. And once your line is in any place on the flat spot, check and see what this number is next to PAW, and that will be your plateau reading. Don't ask me why it doesn't show here. I don't know. I didn't make it. I'm just telling you, I know the DRAGER, and I know that many times it will not read here. That does not alleviate you of your responsibility to document a plateau. It's still here, so you have to know how to get it either way. So if it's not listed under measured values, which can be found under data, then you can get it by freezing your screen. So inspiratory hold, expiratory hold, freeze. Take your dial and go back to the area that you want if you're not getting it down here. Does that make sense? Inspiratory hold, expiratory hold, freeze. Now when we get it, we're going to unfreeze it and let it keep going back to what we want it, because we don't want to keep our screen frozen. Okay? Everybody got it? You'll get lots of chance to practice on that. So that's where you can get that. So we talked about O2 suction, diagnostics. There's not really much of anything you'll use here, especially right now, so you don't have to worry about that tab. Smart care, smart care, smart care. We don't need any of that. Day and night. Oh, look, you can make it dark while the patient sleeps. Get it back to where it was. Then over here on the side, alarm silence. Everybody's favorite button. Alarm parameters. The DRAGER is also unique in a little bit of the alarms. So minute ventilation, we've got high and low. Other than that, I can't set any other low settings. It defaults to its own settings that we can't change. But one thing that I want, there's two things. No, you got to pay attention to them all. Never mind. So PAW, you're going to learn that PAW stands for mean airway pressure, which is not the same as high pressure. It's not the same. I know that doesn't make sense yet, but please understand for purposes of the DRAGER. On the DRAGER in the alarm setting, PAW means high pressure. This is the only time it means high pressure. Normally, PAW stands for mean airway pressure, which is a whole different number. What are you doing over there? Oh, I'm not loud enough? Okay. Oh, great. So please understand, unless you are in the alarm settings, listen, unless you are in the alarm settings section on the DRAGER, PAW is mean airway pressure.
What's MAP?
Mean airway pressure.
MAP and PAW are the same.
Yes, and so is P mean. They're all mean airway pressure. It is a very important number. So I don't want you to get confused. When you're working on the DRAGER, because it's German made, and I'm from Germany, so you better not say anything. Not originally, I wasn't born there, but my family's German. Okay, so just want to cover that. When you start cussing this out, it's not my fault. My ancestors did not make it. PAW in the alarm section of the DRAGER stands for the high pressure limit, because you're going to learn where that needs to be set. Okay, VTI is your tidal volume. This is the one I told you was in liters. So remember, it's point whatever. So if you want your high tidal volume alarm to be at 700, it should say 0.700, not 7.00, which would be 7 liters. Huge difference. The other thing about the alarms is this last one, it's called F, like frequency, SPN, which stands for spontaneous. So this is the spontaneous frequency alarm. Normally, you're going to learn that on every other ventilator, you set your high respiratory rate to 10 above whatever you're doing. So if my respiratory rate's at 12, 10 above would be 22. So that way my set rate plus my spontaneous rate, if the two of them are more than 22, it would alarm. So if it goes more than 10 above. On the DRAGER, the only thing it's taking into consideration is the spontaneous rate. It's not even looking at the base rate. So this needs to be set on 10. So if the spontaneous rate goes more than 10 above the set rate, it will alarm. So it's only taking the spontaneous rate into consideration. So don't set it at 30. 30 plus 12 would be 42. We only want it to go 10 above whatever I'm set at. So on the DRAGER, the spontaneous alarm is set at 10. And then the apnea, something we'll talk about later. Okay, got me so far? Okay. So that's alarms. Ventilator settings is just another place where you can get to the same tab to set all of my settings. Sensor parameters we don't use very much, with the exception of if you need to do a flow calibration separately from the entire calibration that you did earlier. Sometimes you'll see up here flow sensor. Don't come to me and ask me questions when I'm talking about this ventilator. Huh? All right. We'll see. You guys, that is on tape. Right here. Thank you. What you tell us again? He's got it perfected. You heard it. So sometimes you'll see up here, you guys, While you're working on the ventilator, we've had everything's been running fine, kind of like the scenario Matt told you earlier, but a little different. All of a sudden it says the flow calibration measurement is an error. And it gives you has some question marks. It says flow calibration measure error or something like that. And you get all dashes here. Because if the flow sensor doesn't work, it can't read out anything. So let's say we bag our patient, we get a new flow sensor, because I can just replace the flow sensor and everything should be fine. And I need to calibrate it again though. Then you can just go here and do just a flow sensor calibration and you don't have to do that whole device check like we did in the beginning. Flow sensor on the DRAGER is a very common piece that has to be replaced. If you replace it, you need to recalibrate it. So that's how you can do that very quickly. Someone's bagging your patient, get a new flow sensor, put it in, recalibrate it, and you're done. System setup, we're not really going to use this. If I catch anyone going in here and changing languages or anything like that, please plan on going to see Mr. Rutherford. That is on tape as well. I've had 1 or 2 students thought they were smart and funny and put it in German or Portuguese or some other language, and it was almost impossible to get it out of it. You have no business going into the system setup tab. It's not for you, it's for me and for professionals once you learn how to use it, not right now. Okay, so otherwise, alarms will be at the top.
Is this the only one that you changed the languages in? Is this the only one that you could change the languages in?
I believe so. I've not seen it happen on any other one. If the other ones do, it's so hidden we don't know about it. This one's very accessible. Don't go into system setup. You don't need to. Your alarms will come up over here. Red, yellow, and blue. And whether they're high, low, or medium priority will also be the way it sounds. Down here tells you if you're running on battery or not. Right now we're plugged in. If we unplugged, it would change. Other than that, are there any questions? If that's not enough for you. Yes.
So just want to get this right, or double check. To get your plateau, you have to go to inspiratory hold, expiratory hold, and then freeze it, and then you're gonna
Turn
move
the
the
wheel back.
dial to paw, and that's how you get plateau.
You move to the dial to where you see the flat line.
But it's gonna
Here.
say paw.
Yeah, I'll do it.
So-
Let me do it one more time.
So this paw is different from the paw in the alarms.
It's the same pressure setting. Yeah, it's a little confusing. Just paw on. I guess let me clarify to say on the DRAGER, mean airway pressure is listed as P mean. And if you see paw other places, it's just talking about a regular pressure. So if we do, sorry, I'm in the wrong spot. Special procedure. Inspiratory hold. Expiratory hold. Freeze. And then dial over. Yeah, see, the DRAGER tends to put pressure for paw for everything. And that's why I said I want you to know that that's not mean airway pressure. That's their way to say regular pressure.
So that's where you get plateau.
Yeah, but you have to go all the way over to here to where the flat part is. Right there. Yep, that's where you get the plateau. Does that make sense? Paw on the DRAGER just means pressure, where in any other vent it means mean airway pressure. Oh, I do have one other thing. If you're looking here for data because you want to find something, if you hit the little thing up here that says 1, 2, 3, that'll take you through other screens where you can get to other stuff and you can change what comes up there. Because you'll see in time, there's pretty routine things we like to see. We like to see the peak airway pressure, the mean airway pressure, the respiratory rate, the tidal volume. And so we kind of like to have all that in an easy screen that I can monitor anytime I walk in the room. Then when I do my vent check, I can go into the in-detail data. But this is what would always be there all the time. And that'll be something that's kind of personal preference as well. What do you like to see on your patient? Okay? All right, we've got one more demo to do next week. That will be all 4. Go back to your intubation and extubation and all that.